What's up, guys? Welcome back. In this video, like I said, I'm going to be going over parameters. Essentially, what these little parentheses after a sub or function mean. Okay, what these are just a place to pass a value to a sub or a function to help it in its procedures, to make it more useful or universal or applicable or whatever you want to say. Okay, we saw this sub here say hello. Every single time it was called, it just said hi, which is very limited. Okay, let's say I want to make this sub, instead of just saying hi, it's going to say hi to a name that I tell it to say hi to. How I do this is I'm going to use parameters. So in the sub, okay, inside here, I'm going to say what value is going to be passed to this sub. Okay, and I'm going to use the keyword byval. Okay, I'm going to give this variable a name. I'm just going to call it name. And then again, the type as a string. Okay, now when I do this, I immediately get an error up here, and that's because say hello is saying I can't do my job. You didn't give me a name. Okay. So when a sub or a function has a parameter, okay, you need to give it an argument or pass it a parameter or whatever, whatever it's called. So when I call this now, instead of just calling it, I also need to supply it with a particular name it's going to use, and I'm just going to pass it Bob. Okay. Now in the sub name, it's sort of pointless to have a parameter unless you actually use it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and change this up to make it, use this name, okay, and make this sub more universal or personal. I'm just going to go ahead and put a comma space here, and then I'll just add name. So now when this is called, instead of just saying hi, it's going to say hi, whatever name I passed it, okay? And those are parameters for you, and these really make your subs and functions a lot more useful and a lot more sort of personalized. They can do different things based on what you pass to them. Okay, now you can have more than one too, and I'm going to show you that in the function example. Let's rename this one, give it a more appropriate name. I'm going to call it find highest. Okay, now this is going to take two parameters, two arguments. Byval n1 as integer. Oops. Use the comma to separate different parameters. Byval, and I know you can't see this as going off screen. Byval n2 as integer. Oh wow. Again. And then again, the whole thing as integer as the type. So that is how you would use multiple parameters. You just separate it by a comma. So I'm going to go ahead and make this actually do what I want it to do. So it's going to say if n1 is greater than or equal to n2, then return n1, else return n2. So I'm going to give it two values, and it's going to return the greatest, or if they're equal, just one of them, to wherever it was called. So one thing I probably should have mentioned in my other video, when you do use return in a function, whenever return is kind of hit or triggered or whatever, it ends the function right there. So if you have a return statement in the first line of your function, it's never going to get to the body of that function. It sort of says, okay, this is a function, I need to find a certain value. Once it gets the value, it says, okay, I got the value, I'm done, I'm out of here, and it ends. So so make sure when you put your returns there in a place where there's nothing below them that might need to be executed, okay? You also need to keep in mind that a function has to return a value, okay, whatever code path is taken, okay? So if you have an if statement, you have to make sure that a return statement is hit no matter what happens eventually in the code. So I could put, this one sort of on the bottom if I wanted to, but I need to make sure that any value, that's passed, anything that's, valued or whatever, it has to eventually hit some sort of return, or it's not a function, and it's not going to work. So let's go back to the main and let's see how this works. Again, I changed the name, so I need to call this by the appropriate name, which is now called find highest. And again, how we pass multiple parameters again is just by the comma again. So I'm going to pass this 3 and 4, and then I expect x now to be 4, and let's console dot right line whatever x is. We expect that to be 4 if our function find highest is working how it is. So let's go ahead and debug this, and we get 4. Hi Bob, and then 4. So those are parameters and how we use them, and these are going to really enhance what your subs and functions can do. Now, one thing I sort of want to go over with subs and functions and parameters is the variable name, okay? You can pass as a parameter a variable, and it can be called a certain thing, but once it's passed, okay, the sub or function refers to it specifically by whatever name you tell it to refer to it by, okay? It doesn't know and it doesn't care what it was called before that, what it was called in the main, okay? Just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and dim lol as string equal to Jeff. So this is going to be the variable which holds the name, and then we can pass this variable to our say hello sub, okay? In the main, Jeff is referred to as LOL. In the sub doesn't know what LOL means. It only knows that the value it was passed is going to be called name, and we're going to refer to it as name in the body of this sub, okay? So don't get these mixed up, okay? Once a variable is passed, whatever it was called in the main or wherever you're calling it from is one thing. Once it's passed, it becomes, whatever you define it as in the by val statement, okay? So don't get these things mixed up. But aside from that, parameters, are pretty easy. They're, it's just a value that you pass to a sub or function, which it uses to make its procedures or whatever it's returning more applicable, okay? And you can use them now. You see in, our last video, our subs and functions were really very limited and sort of useless. This right now, this is again a very, very basic function, but it's useful, right? You pass the two values and it tells you the highest one. That's a useful function. And you can make a lot more complicated ones than that to do a lot more, but you can start to see how subs and functions sort of work and how they can be used. So that's parameters, and that's really all I wanted to show you in this video. Thanks for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, whatever. If you have any questions or problems, leave it as a comment, message me, whatever. I'm here to help. And if you got all that down, then feel free to move on to the next video, and I will see you there.